Hearing is very important. We only want to hear from Saraswati Takur and those who faithfully represent Saraswati Takur. No other source. That this is Chaitanya Saraswat. That means, understand, you say, oh, there's the Vedas. Oh, yeah. Krishna came down as Gauranga. Radharani came as Gadadhar. Mahaprabhu, the divine combination of Radha Govinda. He decided certain things. Think about it. You have Krishna telling you what's important. Otherwise, you're supposed to go through like all the Vedas, the Puranas, the history, everything, and extract from there what you think is important, or should be given attention, or you should follow. Or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the central conception of the infinite, Krishna himself comes down and tells him and says, please give your attention to this. This is what is Krishna consciousness. It is embodied, enshrined, and distributed by my beloved, Srimati Radharani. She is everything to me. She is Krishna consciousness. You need a connection with her and the service of her holy lotus feet. Don't worry about anything else. Get a connection with her agent. Guru Maharaj said, that's when the, Gyane prayasa mudapasana eva stane sita. So when the infinite, or the supreme positive, plants his flag in the heart of the negative, that means us in this case, through the agency of coming in connection with his agent, he plants the flag of his conception in your heart. So how important is the agent? We see in the case of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Takur, he is the source of everything. Someone could say, well, I've heard that he says this is the Bhakti Vinod Paribar, the family of Bhakti Vinod, spiritually speaking, and the line of Bhakti Vinod Thakur. Why are you giving so much importance to Saraswati Takur? It is true. All we have, and it's everything, is the wealth of Bhakti Vinod Thakur. Guru Dam, Grantadam, Gauradam, Namadam, Uda, Bhakti Dam, Buddhidam, Bande, Bhakti Vinodadam, Uda. He's given everything, but he revealed Navaditam. We will learn that in the coming days of the Navaditam Parikrama as we approach the appearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That's revealed by Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his Navadvip Dham Mahatmyam, the spiritual cartography of the whole of Navadvip Dham. So not only the birthplace, but everything there. And all of our books. And what are our books? Chaitanya Charitamritam, Chaitanya Bhagavat, Srimad Bhagavatam, the works of the Goswamis. That is our line. Right? All given by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, including his own. He's that expert who can extract Jaiva Dharma, Chaitanya Shikshamritam, etc. But so all of this wealth of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Sri Radha Padasevanamritamaho Tadatum Isho Bhavan, as identified by Srila Guru Maharaj and his prayers in separation from Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, as far as we know, had a handful of disciples. Sometimes we hear 5, sometimes we hear 7. Think about that. Bhaktivinoda Thakur has 5 disciples. And of them, we bow to them, take the dust from their feet on our hand, but they're not distribution agents, we can say. There's some souls by some inconceivable grace and fortune got the holy connection of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, but they don't have the capacity to receive and distribute the full wealth of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. That required an avatar, one who descends from the spiritual world. We're told there's a mystic saying in the ancient Vedic books about the savior of the world will come from the east in Puri. That's what it says. So people say, oh, Jagannath. Of course, it's talking about Jagannath, Lord Jagannath. And by his mercy, the world will become liberated. I say, oh, Jagannath is in Puri, because it's saying in the east, in Puri, he will appear. And then this merciful distribution of Krishna. Oh, so then they give the prasad of Jagannath, and everyone is Jai Jagannath, happy, dancing on their way back to the Vaikuntha world. And that is, we bow to that understanding. But also, it is equally observable that he will appear in Puri. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Takur, like, here's the Jagannath. If he appeared any closer to the temple, he would have been born on the altar. Right? There's Jagannath's temple, 100 meters away is Saraswati Thakur's house, and his mother, Bhagavati Devi, gives birth to him. And when the Jagannath Rath Yatra comes, she presents the baby. Remember, now is what? March? Yeah, so June, July, few months, then the Jagannath festival is there, and the Rath, the chariot of Jagannath, goes before the house, and she comes out and presents her baby, and we're told, and Jagannath, the big garland falls from Jagannath onto the baby, like as a indication. He will appear in the east in Puri, and there will be this merciful, the prasad, the mercy will be distributed all over the world. Means His Divine Grace, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who Gurudev and Guru Maharaj like to put it this way, say, what brought him down here? Saying, being irresistibly drawn in attraction to the wealth in the melted heart of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Irresistibly drawn. Because in one sense, who would want to come here from that world? And they say, oh, you got an assignment. What? You have to, Hare Krishna, But we're talking he's so irresistibly drawn to the wealth of Krishna conception in the heart of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, you can't keep him away. Right? So yes, in fact, it is the Bhaktivinoda Paribar. But first line in that sloka I quote is Guru Maharaj, Guru Dham. That's where he started. Because we could say, wow, he gave us all the books, all of our songs, all of our, everything we have comes from Bhaktivinoda Thakur. But how did we get it? Guru Dham. He also gave us Guru. Then we can say, yes, but it's His Divine Grace, Om Vishnupad, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. He distributed Krishna consciousness all over the world. So everyone who considers themselves a member or aspiring member of the Krishna consciousness movement must bow to that Srila Prabhupada. And that's a fact. But if you ask him, why did he come here? He was in the Radha Damodar Mandir, living there. The deities of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Prabhu, Jiva Goswami Prabhu, taking Krishna Nam, translating books at advanced age. Why did he risk it, everything? He literally put himself on the altar of self-sacrifice. For what reason? What compelled him to do that? Guru Maharaj has written very nicely in one of his numerous pranams for Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he says, Vilasatu Hridi Nityam Bhaktisiddhanta Vani. It's his name, Saraswati. Saraswati is the goddess of speech, right? And also artful speech, but that's just of here, but we're talking Dibya Saraswati. That means divine sound. Right? Where's Veda Vyasa's ashram? on the banks of the Saraswati River. It's not merely a river, it's a river that is flowing with a divine current. It's not a coincidence. That's where Veda-Vyasa's ashram is. And so the current of the Saraswati is descending from this high plane into this world. So when Guru Maharaj is writing this poem, and it shows his poetic skill, as Keshava Maharaj, Srila Keshava Maharaj said about Guru Maharaj, he said, you know, some try to get Siddhanta into their poetry. Others, there's not so much Siddhanta, but like sweet poetry. He said, but with Sridhar Maharaj, you get the perfect combination of Siddhanta and poetic expression. None other than Srila Keshava Maharaj said that. So Guru Maharaj is saying, his name is Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. And our whole existence is attributable to him. So he said Bhakti Saraswati, then Bhakti Siddhanta Vani. May the divine words, speech, orders, instructions, conceptions emanating from the lotus mouth of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Takur, vilasatu hridi nityam, play upon our hearts, the deep heart's core, like where we're thinking, like what am I doing with my life? What is my purpose? How do I repay my debt to my guru? Impossible. We're told, if you owned all the worlds, like Bali Maharaj, and you thought, all right, let me give this. Are we good? We're not good. We're told one word from Guru is impossible to pay back. Once someone said to me, and what is that word? You know, they're trying, Om. I mean, just that, you can get that it's on the internet. Right? A million hits from Google or something. No, imparted with what current? That Saraswati current from the ashram of Veda-Vyasa, what's coming from the heart, the melted heart of Bhakti Vinod Takur, extracted from there, distributed by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Takur, so much so that when Srila Prabhupada is in his room in Radha Damodar, that's playing in his heart. He cannot deny that and is willing to throw himself on the altar of self-sacrifice, cross the ocean and preach as Guru Maharaj's message, to distribute Krishna consciousness all over the world. So without Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, we don't get Prabhupada, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Without him, we don't get Guru Maharaj, we don't get Govinda Maharaj. So no Chaitanya Saraswati. You don't get anything. You don't get Bhaktivinoda Thakur. None of this, if not for Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. We're all participating in his grand plan. It is he who conceived this. We're just, in other words, it's his world and we aspire to serve in it, you know, to modify something that's in current usage. Right. So, and it's so unthinkable because it is not his nature. Like sometimes devotees, we think, you know, we're struggling with our natures. We're wondering, how much of your nature do you get to keep in the pursuit of Krishna consciousness? Perhaps that is a topic for another time. Hopefully, like the long and short of that is, we have nothing worth salvaging, really. You may have some skills throughout that, use them in service, but I'm saying in terms of our reality potential, ascharjavat pasati kaschidenam, Krishna tells Arjuna, if you had a glimpse of your actual soul's reality potential in that one, you would be astonished, you would faint. Right? So there must be a path from here to there, and it's coming in connection with these divine agents. But about that nature, Srila Saraswati Thakur, he was in a sense, a bhajananandi. I mean, he's doing his spiritual culture in seclusion. And I should remind everyone, he's not a practitioner. Right? We're aspiring practitioners. He's not a practitioner. he descended from the spiritual world. So he's not like following things to try and improve himself in that standard sense. And he has no interest in anything of this world, or the opinions of the people of this world, or any such thing. Right? And but he is irresistibly drawn to the wealth and the melted heart of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So we hear as a child this particular nature he has, how serious he is, how exclusive he is to the line. And at a particular stage of Bhaktivinoda Thakur's life, nearing the final portion, and he wants to transfer having discovered the birthplace of Mahaprabhu, to transfer that service to Srila Saraswati Thakur. There's some deities, and Saraswati Thakur is reluctant, actually. And Bhaktivinoda, and it shows the sweetness of their relationship. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, what's the word? Chastens, means like chastising, but in like a teasing way. He said, "Oh, you have become a nirvishesh body," means like the people who believe the Absolute is ultimately formless. Like, so the form of God, that's too much trouble for you. That's what he said to him. Then Saraswati Thakur was like, "No, I am at your service." Now that you put it that way, I'm totally at your service. What is it that you would like from me? I want you to take this seva. So the reason I say this is, it is somewhat reluctantly that Srila Saraswati Thakur is he's coming out of that world. He's so absorbed fully in the upper world, in the internal world, with very little consideration of the external world. And now he's being told to come out, or as we say, to come down. Those higher type souls, they're inaccessible. The Mahabhagavata, the highest type of the, we're told they have to come down to the madhyam position to be accessible, to interact with others, like basically like to have a conversation. That's somewhat unthinkable from our present position, but he is that type of personality. They actually have to struggle to have some external awareness. Right? As we may think that we struggle to have the inverse, some internal awareness. So that Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, there's the order of Bhaktivinoda Thakur and some internal inspiration, and the departure of his Guru Maharaj, Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj, who Bhaktivinoda Thakur sent to him for initiation because he didn't want to give the impression of like father, son, like a, lineage, right? Like Jata Goshai, birth transmission. Bhaktivinoda Thakur substantially is there, but to disallow that, which will become part of the mission of Saraswati Thakur, sends him to Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj, and it's a sort of divine play too. So Saraswati Thakur is arguably the greatest scholar of the modern times. And Bhaktivinoda sends him to someone who you could say is functionally illiterate, cannot write his name, to be his disciple. Again, to contradict the stereotype, the great scholar, then he must approach an even greater scholar. No, he sends him to someone who's not known to be a scholar, but who has pure devotion in his heart. The kind of devotion that can bring the infinite down. Right? I was thinking, people talking about merging with the infinite, like to become part of the unlimited or something. What would, I think, a more interesting proposition? What would make the infinite want to merge into the finite? That's something to think about. That's called devotion. That's the power of devotion. The infinite, all these people, they want to merge into, no, he wants to come down and merge into his devotee. Well, their self-oblivion is not self-extinction. They still retain their existence. So, as we heard recently, Pundarik Vidyanidhi, and when he and Mahaprabhu embrace, they're merged into each other, but retaining their identity. Harai Pandit and Nityananda Mahaprabhu, like that. And one thing I forgot to say, I just have to say. When Nityananda Prabhu was seeing the eyes of Nimai Pandit, he says, are there other things called lotuses? I can't remember. There are other things called lotuses? For so long we thought, oh, the lotus-eyed person, Pundarikaksham. But really, more to the point, and Guru Maharaj says this in his prayers, the Saraswati Takur, he's so beautiful. The eyes are so beautiful that lotuses can be compared to them. That's more apt than the inverse. Like you look at it and like that. No, these eyes are so inconsistent. Lotuses sort of dimly reflect the beauty of these type of eyes. So, about the bringing down the infinite, the supreme positive to the negative. So that Gaura Das Babaji Maharaj has. So Saraswati Takur approaches him for initiation, and he's just living, sometimes under an upturned boat, under a tree, and he tells Saraswati Takur, I have to ask Mahaprabhu. So Saraswati Takur comes after 2 weeks. And Babaji Maharaj said, oh, I forgot to ask. And Guru Maharaj said, it was as if to crush the scholarly temperament. Like everyone wants him to be their disciple, but not Gaura Das Babaji Maharaj. Again, this is their leela, their pastimes. Ultimately, Babaji Maharaj consents, of course. Babaji Maharaj lives at the house of Bhaktivinoda Thakur from time to time, hearing his Bhagavat. He's also drawn to the wealth of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And Srila Saraswati Thakur once, when he sent one of his disciples to the West, to England, and he came back half converted and said, what you have, that is not sufficient for them. He was dumbstruck. And at that time, Guru said, Professor Sanyal went to strangle that man. And he told him, he said, you have forgotten the first principle of spiritual life. Guru Padasraya. It's in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Taking shelter of the lotus feet of Sri Guru. That's everything. Then, perhaps hearing that, then Saraswati Thakur recovered, and he said, my Guru Maharaj could not even write his name, but all spiritual wealth could be found in one of the toenails of his holy lotus feet. Such was his vision of Gaura Das Babaji Maharaj. And upon his disappearance, Srila Saraswati Thakur came in connection with Kunja Bihari Vidyabhushan, his disciple, later known as Tirtha Maharaj, and Sakhi Charan Babu. And he saw them as extensions of Gaura Das Babaji Maharaj, coming to assist him in divine service. And they, who had heard, all these modern day Paramahamsas are all bogus. There are no real ones left. Someone said, no, there's one left, and he's in Navadip, and his name is Gaura Das Babaji Maharaj. The day they went to see him was his disappearance day. You can imagine. But then they're told, but he has a disciple who lives in Mayapur. And then they come in connection. It's by divine arrangement. And that Tirtha Maharaj, Srila Saraswati Thakur said, would count on him to get him an audience. His idea was to target the elite, and the mass would follow. So he wanted to preach to the higher class, to the elite, and if they would accept this and embrace this, then the rest of the people would follow. So Tirtha Maharaj realized we have to take him out of the jungle of Mayapur to Calcutta. And Gaura Das Babaji Maharaj had some objection previously, and he said, like, Prabhu, don't go to Calcutta, the center of hell. Stay in the holy Dham, don't go to Calcutta. And Saraswati Thakur said, oh, you don't understand. I have so much faith in the wonderfully purifying power of the dust of your holy lotus feet. I can liberate millions of Calcuttas just with the dust from your lotus feet. And if in fact Calcutta, that's the center of hell, what better place to establish an altar to Gauranga Mahaprabhu and Radha Govinda? That's the place where I want to establish my mat. That was his response. And before that, we hear, because Saki Charan Babu, he had a lot of appreciation for Srila Guru Maharaj. Seeing him, as Srila Prabhupada Maharaj did and others, after Saraswati Takur, here's Saraswati Takur. You want to know what he thinks about something or his opinion? We go to Sri Damar. So, and he donated the land for Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Mat. But he would tell him of the early days. He knew of them. Because Guru Maharaj joined, I think, in 27. And they started in 23, 17, or 23, whatever. It gradually developed. So he had some stories from the early days. The first disciples. Keshava Maharaj's sister, Sakhi, they got privileged to see certain things. And one is, he said that now Saraswati Thakur has come down and he's going to deal with everyone and preach to them. And he said that so sometimes he would be pounding on the table, very passionately representing Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya to Saraswati, Saraswati means Saraswati Thakur, Gauranga Mahaprabhu's conception. And he said, and that would cause his face to turn like pink. And Guru Maharaj said, then they realized he looked like a pink lotus flower, but a very intense pink lotus flower, who's expressing all of this Krishna. And he said, we could not understand everything he's saying. Of course, it's representing the central conception of the infinite. He said, what we knew was, for certain, was that he was trying to force some nectarine substance down our throats. That we knew. And then, very beautifully connected to Das Goswami's prayer about Sanatana Goswami, which can give us a little hint. Vairagi yug rasa pratne apayayam mam anabip samandam kripamburiya paraduka duki sanatanas tvam prabhum tam asrayami. He's saying, I was unwilling to drink this nectar. And he said, Guru Saraswati Thakur, anabip samandam means I love, Saraswati Thakur has a sense of humor, very much. But he said, it's like when a horse, they need to put medicine in a horse. You can't just, they're not just gonna, so sometimes they have to grab the horse and then they take a bamboo thing and then they put it on there and then they hold his mouth and then they push the medicine into the horse. That's Saraswati Thakur's example. And it gives you a hint of how far removed we are from Krishna consciousness. We should all be so fortunate to have this nectarine substance stuffed down our throats by an expert. Right? So that, he said, that we could understand. And gradually, by his association and service, they began to appreciate such things. But it was Tirtha Maharaj said, we've got to take him out of the jungle of Mayapur to the elite of Calcutta, which they did, and hierarchy of the British representatives, and he was very liberal in his approach to being inclusive. He was not like trying to just recruit some bead counters or sadhakas in the ordinary sense. Guru Maharaj said his idea of kirtan means a fight. I said, no, kirtan means when you're singing and no, Saraswati, it means a fight. What is the fight? Krishna conception against Maya misconception. It's making propaganda. That's his, and we're not disparaging kirtan. But on that note, someone asked Guru Maharaj about Saraswati Thakur, singing, dancing, and he went like, Prabhupada? Yeah, inconceivable. So, and well, wait a minute. You mean singing? He said, no. He said, but everything he ever said was kirtan, and all of his movements were dance. Oh, that's what's described in the Brahma Samhita about that plane, Katha Ganam Natya Gamanam, where all movement is done, all speech is sung. He's saying, Bhakti Siddhanta Bani, everything, he's just incessantly engaged in kirtan, but not like a singer-dancer type, but under his influence and command, so many singers, so many dancers. Right? And Guru Maharaj, on this subject, said that when they were on the Brajamandal Parikrama in Vrindavan once, that like still to this day they go, sometimes devotees, they will like find the Guru's shoes and keep them, or then when he comes out of the place, they're waiting with the Guru's shoes to, So Guru Maharaj also was doing that. So Saraswati Thakur comes out of one place and Guru Maharaj is holding his shoes, waiting for him. And he said, Saraswati Thakur said, give them to me. Yeah. And Guru Maharaj said, those were the most beautiful words I ever heard in my life. They were so beautiful. It was like a song, and his movement, his gestures was like dancing. It was like a momentary revelation from that upper world. Just saying, give them to me. The flow of love, affection, in just that instance. Something peculiar from Srila Guru Maharaj. But, so, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Takur, he, saying how, like in the song, just, Kripaya Hari Kirtana Murti Dharam. He's the Hari Kirtan Murti. It's always Krishna consciousness, under any circumstance. Once they're doing, like when we have to meet with lawyers or architects or accountant, you have to do some business devotionally related. So he's preaching to the lawyer, and the lawyer said, are you trying to convert me? And he said, yes. And he said, and if you could just listen for 5 minutes, as they used to say, give me your undivided attention for 5 minutes, the conversion would take place. And you would realize it wasn't actually a conversion, like this was your inner wealth all along. Another man said to him, like, so with your Gaudiya Math, spiritual organization, is your idea to establish one of these temples in every city, like Mahaprabhu Pritibhite Ache Jatanagar Adigram Sarvatra Pachar Hoy Be Moranam. And Saraswati Thakur said, no. He said, my idea is to establish a Krishna temple in the heart of every living being. How merciful. In the heart of every man, woman, and child, and beyond. So, and as we sometimes have to collect to build a temple, or his temple, he said, it's not for hearing anything else. Once when they had no money, they had a little temple like this. The head thought, well, rented it out for some other so-called spiritual conception. Right. And when Saraswati Thakur heard about that, he said, give them their money back. That's impossible. They go, why? But we don't have it. He said, no. First of all, Guru Maharaj said, it's like renting your wife. So, which I think got to the point. But Saraswati Thakur, he put, and you can still see it in our Mata Navadip, a grill there. It says, Sravana Sadhan, which means, I'm loosely translating, the house of hearing. The home of hearing. Like, you only come here to hear. And what do you come here to hear? Chaitanya Saraswati. From Mahaprabhu to Saraswati Thakur means Bhaktivinoda Saraswati Thakur, Guru Maharaj, Gurudev Prabhupada. That's what you hear. You don't hear other things here in this Nat Mandir and within these. And you can't express other things. You don't come here to express another thing, and this is what you hear when you come here. This unique wealth. Right? So, Chaitanya Nuga, Saraswata Nuga, Radha Anugata, following the line of Radharani. So, that Sravana Sadhan. So, and he always had to have printing press. He said, there's the mridanga, he called that the Brihad mridanga. He's saying, this mridanga, you can hear it here and in the neighborhood. He said, but the printing press goes around the world. So what to speak of the internet? What do you think Saraswati Thakur would think about the possibilities of the internet? It's like the Maha Brihad mridanga. Right? So my point is, he as authentic as, there's no superior sannyasi than he. But if you think, so he must be very unacquainted with the ways of the modern world. No, he's right there. Whatever modern things are available to us, nirbandha Krishna sambandhe yukta vairagyam uchate. He's applying the principle yukta vairagya of Rupa Goswami to use these things for kirtan, Krishna kirtan, making propaganda in favor of Krishna conception. So, and that Saraswati Thakur, sometimes he is walking through the printing press and they have proofs there. He's looking at the proofs, and devotees with some capacity, they could detect waves of ecstatic symptoms on his divine form that he is suppressing just by looking at a page from Chaitanya Bhagavat, Chaitanya Charitamritam, Brahma Sangita, that kind of thing. And when I published this book of Srila Guru Maharaj, Search for Sri Krishna, Reality is Beautiful, and that very picture is there. And first you would put something like Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, founder of charge of Sri Gaudiya Math and its branches. That's what we should have put, something like that. But then some inspiration came from Guru, and I said, but Guru Maharaj said this one thing that really just captured my attention. So I put that. And then when on Gaur Purnima of 1983, I think, the moon's rising, Guru Maharaj, we met the deadline. The moon's there. presenting the book to Guru Maharaj, and we come to that picture, because Guru Maharaj is we turn each page and we're telling him what's in the book. And then we come to that. And he's like, and what does it say? And Srila Govinda Maharaj is here, Guru Maharaj is there, And I said, and I'm going, well, here, is the time, we're going to find out. I said, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, he declared totalitarian war against all other religion, misconception and religions. Right? Like that. And looking to Guru Maharaj to see what his reaction will be. And Guru Maharaj started smiling, and he said, if you didn't say anything else about our Guru Maharaj, he would be fully represented there. Guru Maharaj is also recognizing that I'm quoting him. But he's like, Nikhila Bhuvana Maya, Chinavich Chinakartri. He's, dropping atom bombs on misconceptions. That's Guru Maharaj's interpretation of his own verse. Dropping atom bombs on the world of the Gyanis, the Karmis, all misconception. Nikhila Bhuvana Maya, Chinavich Chinakartri, Vibhuda Bahula Mrigya, Mukti Mohanta Dantri, Shiti Lidividi Raga Radhesha Dvani, Vilasatu Riddhi Nityam Bhakti Siddhanta Vani. So, what is this? Shiti Lita Vidi Raga Radha, Radhesha Dvani. His motto in 2 lines is Pujala Ragapat Gaurava Bange Matala Sarujana Bishayarange. The upper world of our service aspiration, you keep that there. Don't try to bring that down in this plane. You'll revert to sahajaism, imitationism. But rather, give your full attention here in this plane in service to that. That is Matala Saranjana Bishaya Range. So, in this magnanimous distribution of Krishna consciousness, once he said, how far he was willing to go. He said, when we are in England, we can have a youth hostel there, and nearby we can have a local non-vegetarian restaurant take care of the non-vegetarians. Right? So Guru Maharaj, Ramendra Sundar Bhattacharya Brahman, Guru Maharaj is like, he goes, but Prabhupada, I think the result of that policy is our people may get contaminated. And Saraswati Thakur said, oh, no. He said, you don't understand. It's not like I'm whimsically expressing this right now. He said, I decided this 10,000 years ago. Not just now, but 10,000 years ago. And Guru Maharaj said, it was like a lightning bolt to my... And he said, you have to have Vaikuntha Vritti. Vaikuntha here means unlimitedly liberal in your approach. And just to give some context here, remember, this is coming from Saraswati Takur, the ultimate sannyasi. He's ultimately as strict as you can be with himself. He's not saying, if someone misunderstands this and saying, so devotees, no. He will maintain the perfect standards, but he's in his distribution of Krishna consciousness, he doesn't want anything to obstruct bringing someone in connection with his divine substance. That's the point. So, that's Saraswati Takur. When, as I said, in conversations with the lawyers and others, he said, at the time he said, 10 years ago, I was alone in the jungle of Mayapur. And he said, now I have 500 men who say what I say. So that was with the development of Sri Gaudiya Math. But really, he wanted that it would be go all over the world. And that was answered by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who took that to heart, sacrificed his life, took Krishna consciousness all over the world. But then there's the what is that wealth? Distributing this wealth, but what really is it substantially? So, Srila Guru Maharaj, he is like a devotional strategist. He's thinking, if I want to gain the favor of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Takur, but I know his heart is wholly given over, particularly to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, naming his deities with the word Vinod and his Guru Gaurkishore Das Babaji, but Bhaktivinoda, they're both. It's the Bhaktivinoda Paribar, his line. So Guru Maharaj is thinking, if I can substantially, accurately praise Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who is his everything, then I can gain his favor. That's Guru Maharaj's strategy. He's not jumping over. You'll see at the end of his prayers, if he said anything to attract the grace of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, it is, then please grant me that I can be a servitor of your dear Dvaita Das. That's his prayer. But again, so Saraswati Thakur visiting Sri Gaudiya Math, and this perhaps is published and on one of their publications. And he sees this, prayers in separation of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, reading different ones. Then he sees this one particular one. And he says, who wrote this? And one of the devotees there, Goswami Maharaj, says, Sridhar Maharaj, who composed, and he said, Hare Krishna, you're back. Hare Krishna. So he's saying, no, Sridhar Maharaj has not mentioned, not written this. I heard, what? He said, Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written this through him. He means to say, that's how perfect it is. It says that Bhaktivinoda wrote this. Think of that. And what is it? Sri Gauranumatam Swarupa Viditam Rupagrajena Adritam Rupadye Parivesitam Raghugunai Ashwaditam Shevitam Jivadye Abharakshitam Shuka Shiva Brahma Samanitam Sri Radha Parasevinam Ritamaho Tadatum Isho Bhavan. Saying, oh, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, this is your gift to the world. Guru Maharaj is revealing what is the gift of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And really revealing what it is that Srila Prabhupada took all over the world. What is that ultimate treasure? And what is it? It's what Gauranga Mahaprabhu came down. If we say Chaitanya Saraswati, from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to... What is Mahaprabhu's idea? Aradhya Bhagavan Brajesha Tvanaya Dhamma Vrindavanam Ramya Kachid Upasana Brajadu Vadu Bhargena Cha Kalpitai. That what the path of worshipping Krishna that comes from the hearts and minds of the Braja Gopis, there's nothing superior to that. That's it. That's the supreme type. And who is their leader? Radharani. So that's what Mahaprabhu has brought down. Right. And he said, Sri Gaurana Swarupa Viditam. But it is known only fully to Swarup Damodar, Lalita Saki, Radharani's right arm personal attendant. who transfers that wealth to Raghunath Das Goswami. Srupa Viditam, Sri Gauranamatam Srupavidam, Rupagraden Adritam. And this is worshipped by Sanatana Goswami Prabhu. Rupadye Pariveshitam. And Rupa and his family, they're distributing this nectarine substance. And Raghuganai, and Raghunath Das, and Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, they're relishing that. It's becoming more relishable in the process. And continuing the distribution through Chaitanya Charitamrita and the Rupa Nuga line, Raghunath Das Goswami, slokas, favorite to Saraswati Takur. Jivadye Abharakshitam and Jiva Goswami, Baladev Vidyabhushan, they're protecting this like Rakak, like Guru Maharaj's name. Rakak means guardian, protector. That from those who will molest it, modify, adulterate, challenge its authenticity. That is their seva. Jiva Dhyaya Bharakshitam. Then Sukha, Shiva, Brahma, Uddhava, Asamaho Charanenu. They're aspiring for a drop of this divine substance. So what is it? Sri Radha Padasevanam Ritamaho Tadatumishra. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, your gift to the world is the nectarine service of the holy lotus feet of Srimati Radharani. That is the treasure of the Krishna consciousness movement. As inconceivable as it may seem, that is what is being distributed. And as Saraswati Thakur says, Pujala Ragapat Gaurama, keep that in your remembrance high above, and from here, do what service you can under the guidance of Guru and Vaishnava, in service to that plane, in service to this ideal. And so seeing that's when Saraswati Thakur said, so now I'm satisfied. What I came to give, someone received. Remember, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Saraswati. That made him very happy. That I came to this world to give this, and I see someone has received it perfectly. So my time leaving this world is near, but at least someone remains behind who can represent me fully and perfectly. And that man is Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj. Right? And Guru Maharaj would tell us that wherever Saraswati Thakur began his talks, and they may be very philosophical and complex, and said wherever they began, they always ended in this one place, in praise of Radharani. Radharani, everything to him. When he would hear that song of Bhakti Vinod saying, in the songbook saying, I don't like to see that foul-mouthed Saibya, servant of Chandravali. I don't even want to see her out of the corner of my eye, or the place. When that line would be sung in the song, Guru Maharaj said, you could see Saraswati Thakur's body jerk as if he'd been shot by an arrow. How meaningful these things were to him. So, and you'll see. So his talks, they end with the praise of Srimati Radharani, and this always, and may our lives forever be an aspiration to become atoms of dust at the service of the holy lotus feet of Rupa and Raghunath. I've seen so many times that it goes like that. The praise of Radharani, and with this last aspiration. And in the conclusion, so I will say that we're told, as I mentioned in this talk, different senior servitors with special capacity could at times detect ecstatic symptoms at play on his divine form, with him struggling to suppress them. Where Sahaja imitationists would want to make a show, the genuine, they're the opposite of that. He's trying to conceal, meticulously remove a tear, leave, enter a room private if necessary. And you see, when we see the picture of him, he's always the perfect picture of gravitas. But Srila Guru Maharaj says, when he would hear this one verse from Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, even though that's the way, in private, with his, how do you say, superior confidential servitors, that he would be wailing, crying, uncontrollably, saying this particular verse. And what is it? It is about service aspiration. Right? That brings him to tears if his service aspiration is not realized. And that verse is from the Vilapa Kusumanjali of Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, Ashavare Amrita Sindhu Mayi Katanchit Kalo Mayati Gamita Kila Sampratam Hi Tvam Chet Kripam Mayi Dasha Srinaiva Kimme Prane Brajena Chaboru Bakarinapi. As Das Goswami said, the meaning of my life, the purpose of my life, is a service aspiration of your holy lotus feet. If that is no longer a possibility, then what is the meaning of my life? What is the value of my life? Or what is more valuable than my life? And we can stop for a moment to think like, what is more valuable than your own life? In a spiritual, from spiritual consideration, you think, Vrindavan, that is more valuable than my life. That is of no value to me without you. And what is more valuable than that? Krishna himself, without you, that is not a Krishna I aspire for, is of no, what am I to do? So he's showing this sort of exclusive devotion to the lotus feet of Srimati Radharani. Only with you, then Krishna, Vrindavan, and a life of service. Without you, that would bring him to uncontrolled tears, expressing that aspiration from his heart. So, it is our good fortune on this day, by the grace of our Guru Varga, to get the opportunity to try and express some appreciation for the glories of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Takur, to whom we all owe everything. So, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Takur, Avirbhav Mahamahotsavati Ki Jai. And I'd like to sing this song Srila Guru Maharaj wrote. Sri Sri Prabhupada Padma Stavaka. And Srila Krishna's Babaji Maharaj, he used to, he popularized this song all over Sri Gaudiya Math. So he would go on a day like today or some other times, and everyone would go, what is that? Oh, this is a song written by Srila Sridhar Maharaj, glorifying Prabhupada. So it became like the song of Sri Gaudiya Math to glorify Srila Saraswati Takur. And ironically, just incidentally, so Babaji Maharaj is singing this. I'm going to sing this the way he sang it in front of Guru Maharaj, so try to sing what you hear me sing to respond with that. But at the end of it, he started singing Jaya Prabhupada. And this is at the Chaitanya Saraswati Mat with so many ISKCON devotees. And when they heard this, when they went back to Mayapur, they started singing Jaya Prabhupada. It was not done before that. Just a footnote, you know. But it was Babaji Maharaj when he, and all, you can imagine all these disciples of Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, they just started leaping in the air in ecstasy. hearing someone for the first time ever saying Jaya Prabhupada. Sujanar Buddharadita Pada Jugam Juga Dharma Durandara Patra Baram Na Buddharadita Yuga Dharma Durandara Baradaya Kada Barabaya Kadayaka Puja Pradam Pranamami Sada Prabhu Pada Padam Bhajano Jita Sajana Sangapatim Patitadika Koruni Kaika Gatim Gati Banchita Banchaka Chintya Padam Pranamami Sada Prabhu Pada Padam Ati Komala Kanchana Dirgatanum Kanu Nindita He Mamre Nalamadam Madanar Buddha Bandita Chandra Padam Pranamami Sada Prabhu Pada Padam Nija Sevaka Taraka Ranji Vidum Vidutahita Hunkrita Simha Baram Varanagata Balisha Sanjapadam Pranamami Sada Prabhu Pada Padam Vipuli Krita Boy Baba Goda Bhuvam Bhuvaneshu Bikirtita Goda Dayam Dayaniya Ganarpita Goda Padam Pranamami Sada Prabhu Pada Padam Chira Gaura Janasraya Vishwagurum Guru Gaura Kishoraka Dasya Param Paramadrita Bhakti Vinoda Padam Pranamami Sada Prabhu Pada Padam Raghurupa Sanatana Kirti Dharam Dharanitara Kirtita Jiva Kovim Sakya Padam Pranamami Sada Prabhu Pada Padam. Kirtana Murti Dharam Dharani Baraharaka Gaura Janam. Janakadika Vatsala Snigdha Padam Pranamami Sada Prabhu Pada Padam. Sharanagata Kinkara Kopatarum Toru Dikrita Dhirabadanya Varam. Varadendra Ganachita Divya Padam Pranamami Sada Prabhu Pada Padam. Parahamsa Varam Paramartha Potim Patito Dharane Krita Vesadatim. Jati Raja Ganai Parisevya Padam Pranamami Sada Prabhu Pada Padam. Doi Tanu Charam Charanasrita Renu Darastamaham. Mahadakutta Pavana Shakti Padam Pranamami Sada Prabhu Pada Padam. Pranamami Sada Prabhu Pada Padam. Pranamami Sada Prabhu Pada Padam. Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Gaura Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Gaura Hari Bo. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajagacharya Asatar Sata Shri Srimad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Takur Ki Jai Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Takur Avirbhav Mahamahotsavatiti Ki Jai Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Takur Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajagacharya Asatar Sata Shri Srimad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Srila Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Thakur Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Shri Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Shri Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Shri Rup Sanatan Bhattu Raghunath, Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Das Raghunath, Sad Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai, Shri Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur Ki Jai, Shri Narottam Thakur Ki Jai, Shri Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai, Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gop Govinath, Shama Kunda Radha, Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Navadip Dham Ki Jai, Mayapur Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai, Ganga Devi, Dimuna Devi, Bhakti Devi, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Mat Ki Jai, Sri Gaudiya Mat Ki Jai, Sri Chaitanya Mat Ki Jai, Sri the International Society for Krishna Consciousness Ki Jai, Om Vishnupad Vishvavarenya Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Madhacharya Brinda Ki Jai Jai Srila Bhakti Vimaldup Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Srila Bhakti Ranjan Madhusudha Maharaj Ki Jai Sriman Paramananda Prabhu Ki Jai Sri Bhakti Lalita Devi Dasi Ki Jai Sri Krishna Priya Didi Ki Jai Samaveda Bhakti Brinda Ki Jai Divine Grace Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Avirbhav Mahamahotsavati Ki Jai Nitai Go Premanande.